Hi Megan, this is your mommy, and since you haven't ever taken the time to learn how to sew your pointe shoes, I thought I would give you a YouTube tutorial in case you get stuck along the way. So what you're going to need today is your pointe shoes, a stitch kit, your roll of elastic, ribbons, scissors, and a glass of wine. Not necessarily in that order. So Megan, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your elastics and you're going to measure them to an old pair of pointe shoes, and you're going to cut them to the appropriate size, and so you end up with 2 elastics of the same size, as you know. Once you have that, you're going to take your ribbons and you're going to bring them into thirds. So a third and a third. Okay, and then you're going to cut the ends so that you have 3 ribbons. 1, 2, so 1 for this shoe, 1 for your other shoe, and 1 for the next pair of shoes. And the next thing is learning how to knot your needle and thread. So you're going to take your thread, and you're always going to use double. Okay, so you're going to go about 24 inches or so. Cut it. And you're going to thread your needle. Okay, bring it all the way through and make it double so that the 2 ends are the same. Okay, now I'm going to teach you something that you never would listen to me about. How do you knot the needle? And it's something I learned from San Domenico, from the nuns, when I went to camp when I was in 3rd grade. But here you go, I'm going to do a close-up. You're going to take your needle and you're going to put the 2 ends and hold them so they're even. Okay? Now hold them right here, and you're going to go 1, 2, 3, and you can do 4th if you want. Okay, make it taut, and then you're going to take that and you're going to slide it down the head of your needle, slide it, and there you have a knot. Okay, that knot will not go away. So now the first thing you want to do is put your elastics on, and you're going to put them about 3/4 of an inch down so you have room to stitch. Okay, and now you're going to, what I sometimes do is just start in the elastic so your knot is underneath the elastic so it stays neat, and then I place it into your shoe, and then I start just doing a simple stitch through the lining into the elastic and around into the elastic, and you probably do like 5 stitches on either side. Once you get to the bottom, I'm going to show you a trick so that you can keep it neat. Sometimes with the double thread, you kind of need to keep it even, so sometimes one piece pulls harder than the other and it gets knotted up, so you just need to be careful when you're pulling it. So now you have 4 or 5 stitches, and I'm going to go underneath the bottom of the elastic, and now I'm going to start up the other side. And on this other side is where you're going to start making your knot, and it's really super easy to do a knot that will stay secure where you're not having to actually knot it. So you're going to go all the way up the side. And at this point, I think it's time for a glass of wine. So after about the third or fourth, sometimes I push the heel out so it's just easier to get to. But then I go up. Now here's where you start your knotting. Make sure you don't go through the silk on the outside ever. Miss Sarah would be very disturbed. So you're pulling your thread all the way through, and at the very end you're going to tuck under and pull it. It's going to start making kind of like a slip knot. And you're going to do that like 3 or 4 times, and that actually secures the knot. I'm going to do one more. And pull it through, and that pretty much secures it. And then you do the same thing obviously on the other side. And then you have to start with a new piece of thread. Okay. Okay, now that you've sewn both sides of your elastic, okay, now you're going to sew your ribbons on. And the best way to do that, remember it's 1/3 of the full thing of ribbon. And you're going to fold it twice so that you have about this much. It's going to be in a fold and a fold. So you have something to work with that's thick enough. And now you're going to place this fold inside where your ribbon goes, and you're going to just start stitching that up the same way. So again, I usually start my new thread that has the knot in it. I start it here so it's the knot's underneath so it doesn't give you a callus or a blister. And then I start sewing it in just like the elastic. And I go all the way down, and when I get to the bottom, I'm going to slip the thread underneath to go to the other side to go back up. And again, sometimes the double thread, you have to kind of pull them both at the same time, or kind of see how the two don't go at the same speed. So you have to sometimes pull one thread at a time and then make it taut again. So I'm going to go one more time here. Now I'm going to again bring the thread underneath, tuck it underneath, and then start at the bottom. Sometimes I push this inside out, it's just easier. And then I start going up, and after a couple times I'm going to start doing those knots again. And it doesn't have to be that neat. So here I'm going to start the knot again. I'm going to bring it in and make sure that the thread is even with each other, and then go back under and pull it, and do that again and again for the rest of the stitches up. Sometimes you have to kind of be careful pulling it because thread will get. And then one more. I'm actually going to do one more. And then you do the same thing on the other side with your ribbon. Make sure it's facing the right way. And cut this off and then get new thread again. Get rid of that thread. And then again, remember to make your folds. And do it in the right position so your folds are correct and they're facing up. Okay, so we're finished with this point shoe. And this is what your point shoe will look like when you're done. It's all perfect inside and very firm and sturdy, both sides. And now that you've learned how to do this and you don't have your sewing bitch anymore, I highly recommend that you actually use something called Jet. Jet on your shoes will make them last longer. Despite all of your contradictions to this, I would try it if I were you, because then you won't be sewing as often as your sewing bitch has sewed for all of these years. So good luck, and I love you very much. And if you have any questions, go back to the beginning of the YouTube video and review it again, or you can call your mommy. Love you, bye.